Cease and desist, three words that no business owner ever wants to hear. But it may be happening more because of what people are posting online. Plus, instead of telling you what to do, today our marketing experts share the biggest mistakes they've learned the hard way. This should be good. And later in the show, the treatment center that's offering hope for families dealing with addiction. Expert Connexions starts now. When the notice first arrives in your inbox, it might even look like a scam, but cease and desist letters for copyright violations are serious. Thanks for joining us for Expert Connexions. I'm Julie Holton. If you have posted an image online without permission or without purchasing a license, chances are you may have violated a copyright. In today's Legal Connexions segment, I'm joined by attorney John Mashney of Foster Swift. John, violations like this one can come with big fines. They might be a lot more serious than people realize.
Absolutely. And there's no question. Copyright is very often misunderstood by many people. In fact, most people, even people who create those copyrighted materials. So I think when you're in business, one thing that to watch out for is exactly what you said. You get a cease and desist letter or a letter, sometimes from an attorney or a law firm, sometimes not. And there's been a recent proliferation of these types of letters that have come out from firms that are not law firms, where it's a very automated process. What happens is photographers are signed up for some of these services, and the services will do a reverse image search on all of the photographer's photos, meaning that it's like Google essentially, except they take an image and they find all of the places online where that image appears, which could be your website. And many times when people are hiring web developers or website programmers, those people, whether they're in marketing or web development, don't always procure the proper rights to use that photo or that image on your website. Well, who's ultimately liable? It's you, it's your company, it's your website. And this essentially means that you're potentially liable or guilty of copyright infringement. And what does that mean? Well, what I often explain to people is it's the FBI warning that you see at the beginning of Blu-rays and DVDs, 5 years in prison, $150,000 fines, right? It's a big, big deal. And you got to be very, very careful if you get one of those letters.
And we often think about protecting our own copyrights, our own assets, but here you're talking about making sure you're not using someone else's. So, okay, let's say you receive this letter in the mail or in your inbox. How can you tell if this is a legitimate claim?
Well, first thing is just assess, are you using this image? And look, do I have the rights to use this image? That's number one. Do I have a license, or did someone give me a license, or do I own it? Did I create it? Where did the image come from? That's the first step. Just make that fundamental assessment. What do I have? What am I using? And immediately, before you even go any further, if you don't have the proper rights, take the image down immediately. Don't even mess around. Just take it down before you even respond. Just make that assessment and do that due diligence up front. Then you have to actually figure out, okay, do I have liability for copyright infringement? There's a couple key factors. One, I think the first step I'm going to look at is there a valid copyright registration? Usually the letter will say whether there is or there is not, but that's going to determine the legal strategy going forward. And you hope that they don't. But if there is a valid copyright registration, and usually you will figure that out pretty quickly, or at least a lawyer could, well, then you are potentially subject to what's called statutory damages and attorney's fees, which means that the person sending you the letter doesn't even have to prove that they were damaged. They just have to show that you used it and they had a valid copyright registration at that time of the infringement. So you could have to pay thousands of dollars plus pay all of the attorney's fees, including the fees to send you the letter that you're looking at. So those attorney fees sometimes are more expensive than the statutory damages. So thinking about that, those two factors, it can become pretty apparent very quickly what your options are. Sometimes you might luck out and say, hey, we'll just stop and we consider the matter finished. Sometimes you might actually have to have some amount of settlement, and there are strategies and defenses that you can have potentially, but you need to look at it with someone that has dealt with copyright issues before, specifically these types of letters.
Now, I want to ask you this, and this might be an obvious answer here, but does this also include social media? Because it seems that people like to share or reshare things on social media. Could that get them into trouble?
Absolutely. Particularly if it's a business and someone that's sending the letter figures out that you might have some money to pay. Many times these letters come with automated links where you don't even have to talk to anybody. You can just sign electronically the settlement agreement and submit payment online. They are designed to get settlements. That's why we sometimes call them trolls, even though the photographers probably don't like being, accused of being trolls. But the bottom line is that they're going to target people who have the ability to settle and make quick payments. And we're talking about thousands of dollars, $10,000 or more in some cases. So it can really pay to have someone that understands the ins and outs of, okay, what are your defenses? Because sometimes we can get away for $200 or $500 when they're asking for $20,000. So it's understanding those defenses, right? Who's a target? So, I've handled that before where someone posted an image on Instagram, and that their Instagram posts were linked on their webpage. So it was technically on their webpage as well as on Instagram. So again, looking at it, social media can create some liability for you if you're not paying attention to these issues. And particularly now when it's so easy to either hire someone to pay to create images or use various services to create images or find royalty-free stock images that you can use in your marketing and for your business. You can find alternative ways where you don't have liability.
Absolutely. And of course, I'm thinking of stock images that I sometimes see people use with the watermark still on it. That is a sure indication that you should not be using it because you have not purchased the right to that. John, one last question. Again, another one that might seem obvious, but when we're talking about copyrights, who owns the actual copyright to an image? Because I think there can be, and I know this gets complicated, but there can be a misconception sometimes that, oh, well, this is my building that's in this photo, or this is, my place of business. This is someone from my staff. Does that mean that you still have the ability to post that photo?
No, you got to be really careful. I think the misconception is that if you pay for it, you own it, which that's not necessarily true. If they're not your employee, and particularly, let's say they're an independent contractor and you pay for it, ownership doesn't transfer just by paying money for something. There has to be a written agreement and there has to be special language in the agreement that either gives you a license or transfers ownership. So you got to be very, very careful when it comes to ownership.
John, thank you so much. For additional information from John and the other attorneys at Foster Swift, just head to our website, WLAJ.com/Expert Connections, and click the link for Legal Connections. Instead of learning the hard way, wouldn't you like to learn from someone else's mistakes? Like, how about from a company that lost thousands in Facebook ads? Or another that says its website is its Achilles heel. That's right, our pros have agreed to play along for your benefit. Our marketing connections experts join us to share some of the biggest mistakes they've made and what to do instead. Guys, I'm so excited for this segment. I'm here with Seth Getz of Symposia Labs, Paul Schmidt from UnoDeuce Multimedia, and Jesse Flores of SuperWebPros. Thanks for agreeing to play along, guys.
Oh, of course, anytime, Julie.
All right, Paul, guys, we're talking biggest mistakes. Seth, I'm going to start with you. What is one blunder that you see businesses make most often?
When it comes to marketing, I see them make the mistake of creating a message that they like and then trying to give that message to the broad world and trying to get everyone to see their message because they're so in love with their message. They're like, this is the best message ever. I just want everyone to see it. And when you try to appeal to everybody, you end up appealing to nobody. And so they constantly look at it and say, I love this message. I want everyone to see it. Instead of saying, what does my target market need to see? What is it that they need to have communicated to them? And how do I get this in front of that small target market?
Especially sometimes if that messaging is so inside baseball that the only people who understand it are the people who created it. I know we never see that around here. Okay, Paul, you run a very talented video production team. You've got great guys on your team, ladies, yet you've mentioned in conversation that your Achilles heel has been your website. Tell us why.
Oh, I don't even know where to start. I mean, technology has been part of my life forever. But one thing that I've always stumbled on is the website, learning how to do it well. And, it's been one of those consistent situations where I've never really been happy with it over, over the time that I've had it, and things I've tried to do marketing wise, just I haven't been comfortable with. And it's always been a challenge, especially around the SEO. I know that that's a big thing with these guys here aside. So I have a little bit of help and a little bit of, cheerleaders here in that regard, but I've never been able to wrap my head around it. It's just not one of those wires that I have that's that works for me. I can figure out a lot of things, but for some reason that has always been a stumbling block, as well as the fact that I'm not a writer, and coming up with the content that sounds great and looks great and just really expresses who I am. And I am a storyteller, but visual. So writing has always been another aspect to it. And that's a huge part of SEO and a huge part of the website. And so those are the things that I've always had struggles with going forward and trying to make that all work.
I'm beginning to see why we make a great group of friends and colleagues here on this panel. Paul, it totally makes sense. We need to know our strengths and weaknesses, right? So I think it's such a good thing for you to recognize where your team is talented and where you need to pull in outside experts for help. Jesse, what is the biggest mistake that you've made in your marketing?
Oh, so many. Honestly, I feel like if I'm not making mistakes, I'm not trying hard enough. That's kind of my general rule. It's probably a good rule for life. But I think one of the biggest mistakes I've made to kind of piggyback off of what Paul was talking about with search engine optimization is forgetting that while content production is important, content promotion is probably as, if not maybe even a little bit more important. And this is one of the areas where I know I've certainly struggled. We joke about how I'm the only marketing person that I know anyways that is not actively on social media. I don't particularly enjoy content promotion or self-promotion. That's probably been one of the things that I've had to learn the hard way or find help to do because it's not something I'm strong at. And it's been by far our biggest weakness. I think the second one would be, though, unfocused ad spend. I made the joke a little bit ago that if I'm not making a mistake, I'm not growing. But the reality is that it can only grow if you've got a way to learn from it. And one of the biggest mistakes I've made in the past is being like, all right, I've got this thing, I want to promote it, I'm going to promote it, and I just start throwing things out there. And I don't have a disciplined testing structure. And so I've radically changed all of our promotion, all of our advertising. It is extremely disciplined now. We know exactly what we're testing, what we're looking to get from that test, how to know what the pass-fail metrics are. And as a result, have been able to not just make a lot of mistakes and lose a lot of money, but actually do it moving things forward. And so it starts to turn into an investment. And then finally, it's thinking the internet can do more than it can. The reality is the internet can help scale things, but there has to be something to scale. If you don't have a good service, or you don't have a good value proposition, or you don't have a good customer base to begin with, probably the internet's not the right place to start. And so, those are the things that I think I've learned and certainly spent a lot of time, money, and blood, sweat, and tears learning.
Great insights there, Jesse. And I think it also emphasizes the importance of kind of building your business community, having experts like those on this panel to turn to. It's why we've put together an entire page of resources for you. Paul, Jesse, Seth, thank you so much for sharing your insights. To see more
Absolutely.
from our marketing experts, head to WLAJ.com/Expert Connections and click the link for Marketing Connections. Some of the best ways to learn are through making mistakes, but we don't always want to learn the hard way. That's where testing comes into the strategy. Our sales connections expert, Shari Pash, joins us to talk about testing the waters. Welcome back to the show, Shari.
Hey, thanks, Julie. It's always good to be back. And I'm excited to talk about test the waters. It sounds kind of intriguing, doesn't it?
It does, especially because we just came out of a segment where our marketing panel was sharing all of the things that they've done wrong in marketing and, of course, how to correct those. But we'd also ultimately like to avoid making big blunders. So when you talk about testing the waters, what do you mean by that?
You know, in sales, we're always presenting, we're always sharing solutions, right? So when I say test the waters, it kind of means that we need to check every so often to make sure what we're sharing and what we think are solutions to our client or customer or member, that it's relevant to them, right? We can just be going along and we're nodding and they're nodding and everybody's happy, but we're not being relevant at all. So we have to test that water to make sure that we're being relevant. That's what I mean by that.
Right. So are you even providing a solution to their problem, right? For one instance?
Exactly, right? So testing the waters is really kind of one step in your sales process, but you know, it's one, Julie, I have found through the teams I've worked with, my clients now, it's one step we often forget. We're just worried about learning what's important, finding a solution, trying to get to the close, and we've got to remember to slow it down and let's, put the pause on and test our information to make sure it's really being relevant to them. So yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about that process, Shari. What's the first thing we do when we want to test and make sure that we're actually hitting the mark?
Well, one thing I say, the step or two before has to be working, right? We have to make sure that we have used some discovery questions, which I think we covered in an earlier episode. But we want to make sure we are finding out what's important to them so that when we offer a solution, it's actually a solution that's relevant to them, right? So now's the time to offer that test question. If you want to give an example of that, we want to make sure to listen for a yes and listen or for a no, right? So an example might be, you might be somebody who offers a leadership program to your clients, or I work with a lot of nonprofits who offer leadership training. So we might have asked that question, how are you developing leaders in your company? That's that inquiry question, right? And, we want to be able to talk about, we offer an 8-week leadership program that allows your employee to grow skills that they can bring back to your office or company. And now here's the question. Would this help with your goal of growing and retaining your leadership team? That's the test water question we want to ask. Does that make sense, Julie?
It does. Okay, so we've asked that kind of testing the waters question. Yeah. What if you're told no, but you still know that you offer a good solution? Now what?
That's where I think it goes back to preparing for it. Being confident. We talked about that in an earlier session as well. So you don't want that no might be there, but we want to find that solution. And one is practicing that solution as well, right? So when we gain that yes, that's important, but we also want to get those no's out of the way. So when you hear that no, we want to know that we've heard it, because that's the part we can overcome now. If we didn't overcome that no's hanging there. So when you go to close, they're thinking of that no that's in their head. So it's really important that you've discovered what's important to them so you can adjust those solutions. But a lot of it is being confident and being prepared and having these practice sessions. We had an earlier segment on managing objections. So we know that we've got to anticipate what these objections, what these no's might be, and start to overcome them and have it practiced, right?
We have to brace ourselves, that's for sure, because no one likes rejection.
Exactly. Let me give you another story example, okay, Julie? How about, say if you're a printing company, for example, and you have a service that you offer delivery and pickup for, right? Maybe you do that as a service you're offering. And think about this for anybody who's watching that can connect to their type of service. But they might say, how much time are you taking out of your week or your staff people to drop off and pick up printing? And that's where you want to say we offer complimentary pickup and delivery. The test question again, Julie, would this time saver allow you or your team to get more done in your day or week? Get the yes, get the no.
So I'm still stuck on that no, Shari. How do we start to condition ourselves for that potential rejection, especially knowing what statistics say that we can expect to get a no 7 or more times before we actually get a yes, and that a no isn't really a no? So how do we condition ourselves to hear that?
That's right. Exactly. You didn't get a no yet, correct? So it's still, you still have that possibility. And I think it's still, you condition yourself by thinking through and what are all the things that you uncovered already in your process. Now, that's why I say it's a process. We have to have done that discovery process so that you know enough of the yeses that are important to them. So when you get that no, you can minimize it. It might just simply be a misunderstanding, but we know that when that no comes, sometimes it's real. and you can't overcome that. So you've got to be prepared that you have done the discovery solid, and you have 3 other areas that you know you can get a yes on, 1 other area that you can get a yes on. Because if you don't have any other yes agreement areas, solution solved or problem solved with a solution, that will come into conflict for you to close that business. So for me, it's, you've got to do your process. That's what I love about so many of my clients. We work with those tools to create. You have to have a discovery worksheet that has depth to it, that allows you to really dig in to what your client, your member is needing, so that when that no comes, you've got something else you can talk about.
Absolutely. And Shari, I'm sure that worksheet comes in handy because we're not talking just about the sales team either. We think about sales as, if you have sales in your title, but really it's everyone, including front office staff.
That's right, because everyone in your company, everyone in your business, be it 2 people or 20 people or 200 people, are representatives. They're all selling. So you want to create these tools that your receptionist can pick that phone up. He or she can ask a question or 2, so they can also help move people from a no to a yes. So sales is everyone's job, even though if it's not in their title, but it's up to you as the business, the manager, the owner, that you give these tools to your business, to your employees, so everybody can act on your behalf as in sales.
Shari, so insightful as always. Thank you so much for sharing this information with us. To see more from Shari, head to WLAJ.com and click the link for Sales Connections. Skyrocketing stress, increased isolation, addiction experts and advocates had feared the worst with the pandemic. Now new numbers are showing us the impact. Recent data from the CDC shows more overdose deaths in 2020 than any other year in history. That's up 30% from 2019. In June, 40% of US adults reported that they're struggling with mental health or substance abuse. We have 2 guests joining us today to offer perspective in our Heart and Soul Connections segment. Michelle Hutchison is a licensed therapist, speaker, and mental health advocate. And Reverend Tony Johnson is the director of Mid-Michigan Adult and Teen Challenge. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Michelle, how concerning are these numbers?
Well, the numbers are concerning because they show an increase in usage and also, just an increase in societal trauma at this time. And, that makes me think, Tony, really about understanding addiction and the numbers that we're seeing, especially here in Michigan, through the lens of how the pandemic is impacting treatment as well as individuals. Can you describe to us, Tony, just kind of some of what you're seeing here in Michigan?
Well, I'm seeing since the pandemic, it's been very difficult for people that are under the influence of drugs or alcohol to get hospital care. They couldn't go in and get withdrawal treatment. So that slowed down some of the intakes that we had. I've also noticed that the addiction crosses societal barriers. It's professional people, it's low income people, it's homeless people, it's rural people with meth addictions. I've seen a greater influence of that.
Tony, we find hope in treatment. There are so many different treatment options and different centers available to those who are struggling or who have family members who are struggling. How does Teen Challenge stand out from other approaches?
Well, we are Christ-centered, and we're a 1-year program, and we do not turn people away because of finances. So we have a pretty open door. The heart of our program is the students acquiring a Christ-like identity. And this is because of the personal application of godly principles. They renew their minds through the Word of God. They're in a structured environment. They wake up with morning devotions. They have nightly devotions. They have over 60 classes. They're all faith-based. We transform from the inside out.
Tony, what an amazing program. Can you share with us a little bit about your rates of recidivism in Teen Challenge?
We, 2 years ago, Evangel University conducted a study, and we have a 76% success rate. And this is from students up to 5 years after they had graduated from our year-long program.
Wow, those numbers are impressive. Tony, what draws your heart to this work besides just those numbers of recidivism? Yeah.
It is a blessing to be able to see people change, to come in one way and to leave a completely different person. 27 years ago, I was hopeless. I was an alcoholic, and I came through the doors of Teen Challenge. I received hope, healing, and the peace that passes all understanding through my relationship with the Lord.
So you know firsthand the struggles that families go through, but also the hope on the other side of this, and what treatment centers like yours offer to these families. Tony, thank you so much for joining us today. For links to Michigan Adult and Teen Challenge and to hear more from the women of She Leads Michigan, head to our website, WLAJ.com/Expert Connections, and click Heart and Soul Connections. Michigan advocates say because of the pandemic, domestic violence numbers are up. They're raising awareness, providing support, and want to make sure you know about it.
We've heard it, stay home, stay safe. But a lot of those who are victims and survivors of domestic violence, staying home has not been safe. And I think it's just critical that we continue to shine a light on something that has already been silenced, because now during COVID, we don't necessarily know what's going on behind closed doors. When we're talking about lives, we are losing men and women to domestic violence every day. No matter your status in life, that is happening to everyone. It affects every community, no matter how much money you make, no matter your race, your gender, sexual preference, what have you. It is happening to everyone. There is someone more than likely that works with you that is experiencing domestic violence. If, for instance, you have someone that's on the job and maybe their performance has changed, and you're wondering like, wow, this was an amazing worker, and now all of a sudden something happened and their performance has changed. It could very well be them experiencing domestic violence. It could be them living in fear every day. There is something happening, and you need to be aware of what domestic violence looks like, how to approach it without judgment.
Voices of Color provides educational support and public speaking in addition to direct services for victims. We've provided links and information for you on our website. Just click Community Connections. Thank you for joining us for Expert Connections. I'm Julie Holton. We'll see you back here next Monday.
Expert Connections is executive produced by mConnexions Marketing Agency in collaboration with Foster Swift Law Firm. Strategic Solutions for Growth. SuperWebPros, Symposia Labs, UnoDeuce Multimedia, and She Leads Michigan. A special thank you to our Style Connections partners, Polka Dots Boutique, The Standard Spa, and Beauty by Wilder. Visit our Style Spotlight online at WLAJ.com/Expert Connections.